Welcome back with another banger. It's the React Files. Hope you having a good night. Let's get straight to it.
If you ever want to take down the world's internet, this is where to strike. Almost 99% of all internet traffic, including this video, runs on this hidden network of undersea cables. But how do they even put them in place, and how do they fix them? Isn't the ocean like 1,000,000 miles deep and we haven't even fully explored the bottom yet? Do they just let them dangle through the water, float them on the surface, or... So the entire world is connected by these long-ass cables in the ocean, with 493 active cables coming up to a total of 1.5 million kilometers long. That's enough to go from Earth to the moon and back. Twice. But wait, isn't pretty much everything wireless at this point? I honestly thought that like satellites would be our main source of connectivity today, but no. Even the phone in your hand connects to data not by satellite but through cell receiving towers, which are connected by cables. And these cables are installed by ship, which yes, lays them directly on the sea floor by just kind of spooling them out from the back and moving very, very slowly. But sometimes there will be underwater trenches, and having them hang across like this would be prone to breaking. So they just kind of keep unrolling the cable until it reaches as close to the bottom of the trench as it can. Now these cables, they pretty thick, reinforced with multiple layers of protection, as sharks have been found chewing on them, and can sometimes be quite hefty on the inside, as you could imagine, with fiber optic cables nestled safely deep inside of them where the data transfer actually happens. So whenever you message someone across the world, your message is literally traveling through these cables at about the speed of light, since fiber optic uses light pulses that are converted to binary code, which traverses through the deepest depths of our oceans in a couple seconds before getting to the recipient. Accidental breaks in the cables do happen every so often, and they either send an underwater drone like this to repair it, or they just pull that part of the cable out of the water and fix it on a ship before setting it back down. They obviously have a lot of backup cables and alternate paths in place, so even if some evil villain were to cut one of these cables to destroy society, it would just cause internet slowdowns in the area, similar to a traffic jam when a road is closed, and would probably be fixed in a couple days anyway. For now, wired internet connectivity remains king, as it's cheaper and faster than satellite internet like Elon's Starlink, but who knows where the future will take us.
Shout out to Phil Spixel. Me myself, I think Starlink's the future, but this right here is very fascinating in itself. Those cables are huge.
Do we live in a simulation? ChatGPT says,
you might argue that the probability of an intelligently designed universe is close to 100%.
I think, therefore I am. The observer effect suggests that reality is subjective, that things manifest via observation. In quantum physics, the double-slit experiment showed that we have wave-particle duality, that basically everything is in waveform until we observe it, then it manifests into particles, as in matter. And if you look at the definition of matter, look, it says, physical substance in general as distinct from mind and spirit in physical, that which occupies space and possesses rest mass, especially as distinct from energy. That's one definition of matter. But then remember this one? Be of importance, have significance. You know, it matters or it doesn't matter. This suggests that things matter when we materialize it via observation or our mind. I think, therefore I am. Now we all know the power of thought, but what if this is reality itself? That what we believe, we see. Not what we see, we believe. I always say that science is man's imperfect conclusion of God's perfect creation, and now the people at the front lines of modern physics and science all say, well, this must mean that we're in a simulation created by aliens. Which, whatever, it's a better theory than it all came by random occurrences and explosions. But I see it as we live in this energetic field. And yes, our observation does manifest reality, but have you ever listened to near-death experiences? The people cross over to the spirit realm, and when they come back, their family is like, oh, you must have been dreaming, or that was a release of DMT, it was a hallucination, and they all say, no, where I just was more real than this. This life is but a dream compared to where I was. So if even a supercomputer like ChatGPT is saying things like,
the probability of an intelligently designed universe is close to 100%.
then we could only assume that it is true. We do live in an intelligently designed place. Right now, reality itself is subjective. So when we're arguing over things, don't you see that believing is seeing? So those who believe in the round earth are always going to see a spherical Earth just because that is what they believe, so they have to see it. Only until their reality is challenged could they ever see this. Of course, I believe demonic forces are at work, messing with people's realities, with their perceptions, making things matter that shouldn't, and making things not matter that should. But the fact that there is scientific proof to intelligent design and modern science is covering it up tells you all you need to know. So as we argue over these material things, shouldn't we get to the energetic roots of it all? Until we all reach unity in the faith. Science has already figured out that we live in an intelligently designed universe. So now we should all at least agree on that. And then maybe we can find who created it.
Well said. Shout outs to 7 Club. It's definitely intelligently designed. There's no qualms about that.
Are y'all seeing this? The UK is freaking scary right now. Not only are they locking up people for sharing the news, I can't even. They're literally going to start extraditing people to the UK from any other country for sharing news.
You have been committed for sentence, having pleaded guilty to an offence of publishing written material which is threatening, abusive, or insulting.
We'll come right back to this guy. They're coming after you as well. Yes, you in the US, Australia, it doesn't matter where you are. You want to see how long they're locking up UK citizens for? Just wait and see. This right here just blew my freaking mind. They said it yesterday and believe them, but now listen.
We will throw the full force of the law at people. And whether you're in this country committing crimes on the streets or committing crimes from further afield online, we will come after you.
Talk to me about that, because we have seen some high-profile figures whipping up. We talked about it in there with the officers, in fact, about this being added to by online commentary. I mean, I'm even thinking of the likes of Elon Musk getting involved behind a keyboard, maybe in a different country.
Being a keyboard warrior does not make you safe from the law.
To put them in jail. Sorry, prison.
The sentence is unavoidable. Would you stand, please? The sentence that I pass has been reduced by 1/3 to reflect your guilty plea. The sentence is one of 20 months imprisonment.
Y'all, this is absolutely absurd and scary. Imagine a day where in the US you will get in trouble and in prison for sharing the news. Let me know what y'all think in the comments.
Shout outs to Inspired by the King. Now that's some crazy news right there. Shout outs to the UK. All my people out there stay strong. But man, they're really trying to silence the people.
This is the type of thing that proves glitches in the Matrix are real.
In this video, you can see me grabbing a lemon, right? I cut it in half.
Definitely just cut it in
cut it in
half.
half once more, right there. You can see.
Okay, you definitely just cut right through it, yeah.
Grab the bag, I go back for the lemon, and I grab the lemon, and I touch it, and I'm like, why is it not cut in half? And my face, I'm like, what the fuck? So
this is the type of thing that makes me believe in the Matrix.
I grab this lemon, trying to see if I cut that one. I recut the lemon.
That's definitely odd. Okay, this guy's opening up a portal to the underworld, maybe? I definitely hear weird sounds. Listen closely. Those sounds are crazy. There's gotta be a portal to the underworld. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay weird.
Look like he opened up the gates to the pits of hell. Them sounds sounded horrific.
There is some odd things going on in the music industry right now. Kanye West fans are starting a hashtag called Save Kanye because they're concerned about the new allegations. Ex-Chief of Staff Milo is accusing Kanye's dentist for giving him nitrous oxide gas, so much where Kanye would spend upwards of $50,000 per month, allegedly. He even said that Kanye would pull up to meetings with an inhaler mask on, and his dentist Connolly has denied all of these allegations. Next we have Travis Scott. He was recently arrested due to an altercation with his own bodyguard. Not only that, there's a lot of controversy around this video of how Travis handled this altercation with a fan. And we have Taylor Swift. She had to cancel a show recently due to a planned attack of terror, and all of her fans responded by flooding the streets singing her songs. That in itself raised a lot of controversy because it got canceled because of an alleged planned attack, and people just flooded the streets and started singing, which can't be safe because there's no security or anything. Who knows what's gonna happen?
That's very odd. Kanye walking around with nitrous oxide masks during business meetings. $50,000 a month. But that Taylor Swift situation, that's crazy. I agree. It was for a good cause, but it was very dangerous. No security at all. Shout outs to You Won't Believe Me official.
Travis s'est fait attraper par les flics. Travis s'est fait attraper par les flics. Non, je vais me barrer, je vais me barrer.
Santé, merci.
Travis! Travis, watch this! Go him! Travis! Sorry. Travis, what happened? Travis! De l'autre côté, Ali. En face, allez, en face. Une interpellation des rappeurs. Travis! Reculez là. Ok. Attention, il y a des pattes. Putain, il faut que lâcher. C'est les verts, c'était les verts qui sont régulièrement reculez, messieurs, là. Allez. Désolé.
Shout outs to TMZ. Shout outs to Travis Scott. Yeah, when you go overseas, it's a different ball game. The laws are totally different.
Listen. All I gotta say, bro, please, just free Travis right now. He's everywhere. Everybody's concerned. Everybody is worried. So we gotta get him free. Oh, fuck. Shit. Bro, do you know? Travis Scott.
I don't have.
Bro, Travis Scott. It's lit. Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh. Y'all just had arrested him yesterday.
Who are you? I don't know.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Tu connais?
Alright.
No?
Be blessed, okay?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, bro.
Shout outs to Casanat and Travis Scott. It's crazy how the cops acting like they don't know who he is.
Gente, o avião caindo, gente. O avião caindo. O avião caindo. Caiu.
So if you didn't just see the Brazilian plane that went down, it's right here. We're about to go over some questions you probably wondered about the situation. So to start off with, the way it fell is really suspect. It's as if something just happened to the motor where it started malfunctioning mid-flight, right? So you're probably thinking, who made this aircraft? Well, it was not Boeing. It's an ART 72-500, and I've been able to find no connection between Boeing and this company. But I'm sure they have some of the same parts, probably. Even though I could not find them. So whenever a plane goes down, I wonder who's on that plane, because your chances of getting in a plane crash are 1 in 1.2 million. Chances of passing away are 1 in 11 million, and there are 62 passengers or 4 attendants and 58 passengers, and they all passed away seemingly. So that has to be like, what, 1 in 50 million? I don't know. So it's really too early to tell who was on board, but generally with these things we kind of end up seeing some high profile people for some reason. So whenever they release a list of people that were on board, I will keep you guys updated if I see anything weird. And prayers for everyone who's on this plane and their families. I saw a video of it crash into the ground. It's very bad.
Shout outs to Inspired by the King. My prayers and condolences to the families of the victims in this crash.
Shocking footage shows a plane falling out of the sky and crashing near Sao Paulo, Brazil. There were 62 people aboard the Voapass flight, which local firefighters corps confirmed fell in the city of Vinhedo. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has said it appears all the passengers died in the crash, though it hasn't been confirmed. It is not yet known what caused the crash.
A photo of the actual accident airplane, the ATR. And as mentioned many times on this channel, if you get one of these multi-engine aircraft into a spin, it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to recover the aircraft from the spin. There's simply too much mass with the two engines outside of the center of rotation of the aircraft to stop the rotation of the spin, plus the configuration of this tail and the angle of attack that tail is experiencing, specifically the rudder during the spin, gives them very little rudder authority to recover the aircraft from the spin. And the first step to any sort of a flat spin, of course, is you've got to reduce the power. The power is what's keeping the nose up on the horizon and making the spin flat. This photo comes to us via jet photos and is the photo on the Flight Radar 24 site. Investigators will be looking at the configuration of the aircraft at the time of the accident. Since it was still in cruise flight at 17 or 16,000 feet, it's more than likely that the flaps were up or retracted and the gear was also retracted. Accident investigators are going to be looking very closely at the weather in this situation and specifically icing conditions. Initial reports do seem to indicate that there's the possibility that severe icing conditions did exist at the time of this accident. And these turboprop aircraft are particularly susceptible to airframe icing, primarily because of their mission. They are cruising at 17,000 feet, right in the icing conditions, especially in southern latitudes in the wintertime and warmer climates. Regular airliners, the larger airliners, we will cruise well above the freezing level, up 30 to nearly 40,000 feet above the clouds, above the freezing conditions, but the turboprops are stuck smack dab right in the middle of it. And here in the ATR icing manual, it tells you that right away that flying in icy conditions is a serious threat. Operating in hot countries does not prevent one from encountering icy conditions. 30 degrees at sea level means that the 0 degrees Celsius is at flight or at 15,000 feet, your standard adiabatic lapse rate. Due to prevailing atmospheric conditions at their operating flight levels, turboprop aircraft fly where icing conditions are most likely to occur. And one of the worst kind of icing conditions that pilots need to be concerned with in these areas and flying these kind of aircraft are super large, supercooled water droplets. The impact of flying in icing conditions in the ATR is similar to that of other aircraft. You lose lift, you increase your drag, you lose performance on the aircraft, and you alter the handling behavior of the aircraft. Now, the ATR, like all airliners, has anti-icing and de-icing systems on board the aircraft to handle normal icing conditions, but if you get into severe icing conditions, you are in an emergency situation. Because this is such a critical situation in the ATR, you are given a severe icing emergency checklist. It's a box checklist, which means this checklist needs to be memorized, and you need to quickly perform these tasks from memory. Minimum icing speed increase by 10 knots. Power management, go to MCT or max continuous thrust. Condition lever, prop lever, 100% max continuous thrust. Autopilot, if engaged. Firmly hold the control wheel and disengage. Remember the comment about handling? Icing conditions can get the aircraft severely out of trim. Severe icing conditions, escape. You've got to vacate that altitude before it's too late. ATC, notify. Let them know that you're in severe icing conditions. Don't wait for a clearance to leave the icing conditions. Just escape and get out of the icing conditions. And if we take the KML data into Google Earth, we can see that the aircraft lost control very quickly after a short descent from 17,000 feet to 16,000 feet, and the spin began. So these are some of the things that investigators will be looking at and what we know so far about the loss of the ATR aircraft in Sao Paulo, Brazil today. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you here.
Shoutouts to Juan Brown. Great explanation. It could have been caused due to icing. You would never imagine in such a warm climate. Rest in peace to the crew and all the passengers.
Do you guys remember when I said this? Multiple plane crashes, August 2024, part 1, back in July. Have you heard what's happened?
Shocking footage shows a plane falling out of the sky and crashing near Sao Paulo, Brazil. There were 62 people aboard the Voa Pass flight. Local firefighters corps.
And there was another one here. And that's not the only one that's probably coming true. Look at this one. Part 1 further down. We know what's happening in the United Kingdom. But look what's happening here. This is pretty serious. So August 7th, there was a massive CME, and August 8th, the infamous August 8th, there was one that was even more potent, and it's coming around August 11th. Take a look. Read. Another one, correct? I even went so far as to mention it here. And for those people saying that nothing happened on August 8th, a lot happened. Not only was there that massive solar flare, but there was also a massive earthquake in Japan. But also a radio blackout observed August 8th from this solar flare that's yet to make its full impact later on this week. So what do you think? Are my predictions coming true? Let me know in the comments. Let's hope some of the other ones don't come true, right?
Shout out to Dark Predictions. Looking at that list, sounds like they're coming true.
Advanced ancient civilizations, where are they? If advanced societies like the Anunnaki or Atlantis really did exist 30,000, hundreds of thousands of years ago, where's the proof? The debunkers have been asking this for decades, and we finally have the answer. Think about the Fermi paradox. If there really are billions of planets in our galaxy, the chances of life should be fairly high, so why haven't we found any signs of alien life yet? Or, I don't know, maybe we did. Historians, career archaeologists, professors, and Google debunkers claimed the earliest civilization in history were the Sumerians, around 4 to 5,000 BC. And when I say civilization, I mean like full-blown societies, you know, towns, farming, pottery, housing, some form of governing body, not just humans, which have been around for much longer. We have the ancient myths of our past, which frequently talk of previous societies of advanced, even godlike beings like the Anunnaki or Atlantis. But the burning question on every debunker's mind, where the is the direct, not speculative evidence of these long-lost advanced civilizations? Because our history textbooks and common archaeology claims there's none. This is what I call the reset paradox. If civilization really has existed for hundreds of thousands of years only to get reset and start all over again, where's all the proof from this colossal timeline? Surely, hundreds of thousands of years of existence must have left behind countless evidence, so here are my top theories as to why mainstream history hasn't found any yet. Theory 1, dismissal. There actually is direct evidence of advanced, super ancient civilizations as we see in out-of-place artifacts like the 400 million year old London hammer, or even the more recent Antikythera device, which was way ahead of its time to make any sense. But we either dismiss them as hoaxes, claim mistakes in dating techniques, or slap some sort of description onto them that fits into our current timeline because anything else wouldn't make sense in the mainstream narrative. That's what you call confirmation bias. Theory 2, time. It's been too long. Maybe the reason we only have evidence of defined civilized culture going back 6,000-7,000 years is because everything else before then has eroded into nothingness. Even aluminum would fully decompose within 500 years, let alone the tens or hundreds of thousands that would reduce it to an unrecognizable dust. Well, what about materials like glass that can take millions of years to decompose? Maybe these ancient civs never invented glass or plastics, which doesn't mean they were less advanced than us, but perhaps they followed a different evolutionary trajectory than us that didn't include the use of oils, plastics, and glass the way we do today. They could have had different materials that were superior to our own and were in some way more homogeneous with the earth, which leads us to theory 3, biodegradable technology. Imagine that whatever methods and materials these advanced ancients used to achieve technological superiority were completely organic and biodegradable, like the biblical manna, that would fully decompose into the earth way before our modern society was able to find any evidence of it. Might seem laughable or borderline impossible for us to even consider a possibility, much the same way the concept of an iPhone could have been to them back then. Impossible in one civilization could be reality in another. Theory 4. Imperfect dating techniques. Reminder that the technique we use to find out how old something is, radiocarbon dating, only works on things with carbon in them, like bones or wood. Everything else, like stone, is an educated guess at best. What if these guesses are way off, and the carbon-based materials found in and around our ancient sites are not accurate measures of the site's age, but rather of a time that these sites were re-inhabited after being built much longer ago? Theory 5. Aggressive flooding. You know those global floods that almost every culture of our past talks about to some extent in their ancient myths? Well, what if they actually happened, and the flooding was so widespread and intense that it washed away every bit of evidence of these civilizations into the deepest parts of our oceans, leaving behind only our famous ancient structures like the pyramids, which were too big to get washed away? I'll admit this one's a bit of a stretch. The chances of washing away every single bit of evidence of a potentially worldwide civilization is a long shot, but combined with all the other theories, it's worth mentioning. Now, before the debunkers start crying again, we have Theory 6. They're just myths. The stories of our ancient past are all just made up myths and none of it actually happened. No advanced, super ancient civilizations ever existed. That's a possibility. Theory 7. There's been an intentional cover-up. Just a theory, may or may not be true, totally satire, entertainment purposes only. My lawyers told me to say that. Perhaps an elite group of the ultra-powerful are aware of the divine knowledge of our past, like Atlantis or even the origins of our species. Knowledge that could be accessed and used by anyone on Earth that threatens their dominance, like free atmospheric energy or immortality. And they're purposely doing everything they can to cover up and downplay any evidence as false. I mean, they definitely have the money to do something like this, so they could pull it off if they tried. Publishing dozens of official news pieces for the media companies which they own, writing up a couple fact-check articles on websites that they also own, and finally influencing the big tech companies, which they are the top shareholders of, to direct traffic only to sources they want the world to see. Everything else they don't approve of is just a nonsense crackpot theory that is dismissed by the highly educated masses who did their research on Google, which seems to be what they're doing to places like Göbekli Tepe and Gunung Padang. Ancient sites that are so old they didn't fit into any of our mainstream historical timelines, so they're doing everything they can to cover them back up. I couldn't believe what I found out about these sites. Stay tuned for that.
Shout outs to Phil Spixel. Those are some real valid points right there. Some critical thinking. I've learned so much watching this man's content, for real. Honestly, any one of those points, especially number 7, could be the fact. But this is like, hey, there could be more than one answer. But this right here, besides time and some objects being biodegradable, there wasn't corporations back then. They were more in harmony with Earth. Great video.
Do you know how Target advertises in their black hair care aisle how they've got their black female founder owned little tags on their companies about who owns each brand? Yeah, what if they were not all true? I mean, Target would never lie to their customers to sell shampoo, would they? They would never take advantage of people that were looking to promote equality to sell their products, would they? So I just analyzed 51 brands of hair products in that natural fancy shit aisle, and there's no way in hell they're all fitting into one video. So we're gonna start with the black hair care aisle, because there's some shiesty shit going on. I'm talking about this section where they got their black female founder tags out telling you who owns each company, and also all of these products. And this shit got crazy, so this time I made a list for y'all. If we're counting, there's 15 products on this list, and there are 6 imposters. You ready to do this? Disclaimer, it is almost 8 p.m. and I've been analyzing this shit for 6 hours. I'm super tired. I might have made some mistakes. If I did, please help me out. I am not a shampoo expert, as we have already established. We're just following the money here, baby. Miss Jessie's is still owned by co-founder Miko Branch, and unfortunately her sister passed away, who she founded it with. Rest in peace to TT. Your sister's still doing good work. Camille Rose, Janelle Stevens, female founder owned. Miel, on the other hand, was bought by Procter & Gamble. But they're operating as an independent subsidiary, still run by CEO Monique Rodriguez. I don't know what that means, but I sure know that it means that this sign right here is a little misleading, Target. Alright, so how about the next gal, Carol's daughter? Meet our founder, Lisa Price. Interesting. Turns out that they were bought out by L'Oreal in 2014. Either I'm getting this wrong, Or this sign right here is awfully misleading, Target. As I Am was founded by Dr. Ali Sayed. Aunt Jackie's is a little confusing and maybe a little misleading because it's actually owned by this brand conglomerate named House of Chatham. Not by them black ladies they were showing you. I don't know about House of Chatham, but it sure ain't some black lady. And trying to look up Josie Curls is like trying to figure out who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. You keep getting gaslit by all these weird answers that sound like they're what you're supposed to be hearing, but they just keep on saying nothing at all. What the fuck? Their website ain't got any information on their founders. No one's telling me anything about who founded this organization. Just some mystical South African women. So when in doubt, we're looking up that goddamn trademark. And you know who holds the trademark for Josie Curl? That's right, we're digging that deep. That's owned by the Cape Town Toiletry Company. We show up at the Cape Town Toiletry Company website and what do we see? Ah yes, some conglomerate down in South Africa that makes exclusive brands that are all African. Marketing how danged African they is. Oh, and these African companies, they're proudly 50% black owned, they're sure to tell you. I'm so glad this company values transparency so that I could go and look up a goddamn trademark to figure out who owned it. I don't know who these South African women making this formula is, but something about this feels sketchy. Anyways, we'll speed up. Mahisha Dellinger, CEO and owner of Curls. Rizos Curls, or Rizos Curls, I don't know, is Julissa Prado, founder, CEO. Thank God It's Natural, sounds pretty tight to me, and owned by founder Christia Donaldson. Kinky Curly is Shelly Davis. And Douche is Maya Smith. Sorry, it's just Deuce. I'm not, whatever. Now, I think I covered them all. Oh, wait, I didn't talk about EcoCo Inc. I don't even know if I took screenshots of that. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I was stumped by EcoCo. I have no idea what that shit is. They're putting weed in your shampoo. And I think they're based out of Florida, but I got no idea what's going on there. I just left them out. So, here's how we stand. I got you nice and color-coded on this one. Couple of notes. This is not financial or moisturizing advice. I am not an expert on shampoo, but you can screenshot that if you want. Now let's be clear. This is just the money that owns these things. You should do your own research about what they're putting in these products and about the ethics of the companies and about, how you really feel about what you're using and what you're purchasing. It begs the question, what the fuck is Target doing with some of these signs up, lying to their customers like that? Like, am I totally wrong with what I figured out there? Or is Target just that slimy? For real. Oh, and I know a lot of you are still waiting for me to tell you about Native and about Shea Moisture and all these companies. I only did 15 in this video, and I did a total of 51 companies today, so there's a lot left for the next video. I got no idea how we're all gonna fit it all in, but I'll try.
Shout outs to Cancel This Clothing Company, following the money. As for me, I need to try that Eco, that one company that was bought out in 2014. They need to do something about that, for real. It's almost as if it's false advertising.
And I would say I've heard 2027 in a kind of an official capacity I can't reveal. So I think I would say that people in the government are aware of something happening and that there's limited time, a few more years to prepare the people, and that's what's ramping up this acceleration from the previous 7 decades of not even acknowledging it to now we are acknowledging it at a faster and faster pace.
Shout out to Jesus Maria Joseph for reposting this. Seems like they have all the answers to everything, but never want to give us a piece of the info. We gotta wait till the last minute.
All the way up to 192 pounds per square inch, or the equivalent of going 125 meters beneath the surface of the ocean. That is an enormous amount of pressure. And why did they do this? Because after all, traditional space station modules don't have to go through anything like this. About 1/6 the amount of pressure it's going to be subjected to, simply because of the difference between the atmosphere inside the module and the vacuum of space outside. Well, they did it in order to prove the structural strength and stability of the module. It was a colossal success, and the engineers and developers behind the Life habitat were understandably enthusiastic about the results, because this is a huge step forward, a tremendous proof of concept indicating that these modules will be more than capable of handling the rigors of outer space, which means the next step is full-scale modules to be deployed in outer space, which is going to be happening in the next few years. The objective for Sierra Space is 2026 or 2027 to start deploying these modules as part of orbital reef that they're constructing in conjunction with Blue Origin. And not only do they have the technology, they have the money as well. NASA has already anointed this station as being the replacement for the ISS, a commercial replacement, and granted Sierra Space over $100 million, well, to Blue Origin as well. And not only that, Sierra Space has raised over $1 billion from private investors too, and they have contracts with the U.S. military for Dream Chaser, an enormous amount of investment, an enormous amount of confidence in this company and in their new technology. And also keep in mind that these modules can be deployed on any rocket that has a 5-meter fairing or larger, which means it can be deployed by Vulcan, it can be deployed by Ariane 6, it can be deployed by a wide variety of different rockets, maybe Starship as well. But at the same time, Sierra Space has made it very clear that they intend to start competing very vigorously against SpaceX, so I have a feeling that there may not be a tremendous amount of collaboration there. But at the same time, they also made it very clear that Crew Dragon is welcome to dock with their station just as space. We're no longer going to have these extremely restrictive modules, these tiny tin cans that astronauts have to fly around in. Now they can ride in these enormous and spacious modules, which are just much better, not only for living space, but also just psychologically to have this much room, this much volume to operate in, as opposed to operating inside a tiny restricted space for months on end. And by the way, this is not the only application for the Life module. They also have versions to be used on the moon as inflatable moon bases that again can be deployed by very small spacecraft. You don't need gigantic spacecraft in order to deploy a large amount of volume. Now, Bigelow Aerospace was the company that originally had the vision for this sort of thing, but Sierra Space is the one seeing it through to its conclusion.
And that's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed tonight's rabbit hole. If you haven't already, please take a second just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So what we're gonna do, y'all? That's right. Run these numbers up. Thanks again. Until next time.